Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cash Flow Desk. Today we're talking about a number that can make or break your business. And it's not revenue, it's gross margin. Now here's the thing, most owners can tell you their monthly revenue down to the dollar, but ask them about gross margin. And you might get that deer in the headlights look. And I get it. It's not as flashy as top-line revenue, but gross margin is the number that quietly decides whether you're running a real business or just a very expensive hobby. Here's the plan for today's video. What gross margin actually is, in plain English. How to calculate it and not get it wrong. Benchmarks you can use to see where you stand. And 3 practical ways to improve it without cutting quality or alienating your customers. By the end, you'll have a simple game plan for boosting margins and keeping them healthy. Gross margin is the percentage of revenue left after subtracting the direct costs of delivering your product or service. And when I say direct costs, I mean the stuff that only exists because you made or delivered the thing you sold. Whatever's left after that, that's what you've got to cover. Rent, salaries, marketing, insurance, and hopefully, actual profit. Gross margin equals revenue minus cost of goods sold divided by revenue times 100. Let's say a software company brings in $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Their cost of goods sold, things like hosting, third-party integrations, and customer support, is $25,000. That means they're running at a 75% gross margin. Now, cost of goods sold looks very different depending on your industry. For a restaurant, it's the food and beverages. For a consulting firm, it's subcontractor fees and project-specific software. For e-commerce, it's product cost plus shipping and payment processing fees. And if you get this wrong, your gross margin number becomes meaningless. High revenue with weak margins is like a leaky bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it's always running out the bottom. Consider a retail business doing $5 million in annual sales. Impressive, right? But their gross margin was only 18%. By the time they paid rent, staff, and utilities, they were actually losing money every month. The opposite is also true. A small service firm doing under $1 million a year with 70% plus margins, and they were more profitable with more cash in the bank than businesses 5 times their size. Let's go over the industry benchmarks. For software, it's from 70 to 90%, manufacturing 20 to 40%, and services 40 to 70%. But honestly, the most important thing isn't beating an industry average. It's knowing whether your margin is stable, improving, or slipping. If your margin is trending down, it could be pricing pressure from competitors, supplier costs creeping up, inefficiencies in your processes. A slow decline in margin is like a slow leak in your tire. Ignore it too long and you'll end up stranded. Yes, I know, raising prices is scary, but a lot of businesses are living in what I call low margin purgatory. Too afraid to charge more, so they're stuck working harder for less. One consulting firm fixed this by segmenting their services, kept basic packages at the same price, added premium tiers with perks like faster turnaround, dedicated account managers, and proprietary tools. Result? Their gross margin jumped from 55% to 68%, and their best clients were happier than ever. Here's the takeaway: you don't have to raise prices across the board. Test it in small pockets, new customers, a specific service, or a new product line. Track 2 things: sales volume and profitability. Because sometimes losing a few price-sensitive customers while keeping your high-value ones is the most profitable move you'll ever make. Let's talk about the other side of the equation: cost of goods sold. Improving gross margin by cutting costs can often be more sustainable than raising prices. Example: a manufacturing company realized they were holding 40% more raw materials than needed. That extra inventory tied up cash and increased storage costs. By improving forecasting and working closer with suppliers, they reduced holding costs by 15% and boosted margin by 3 points. Service businesses can win here too. A marketing agency was burning 20% of project budgets just preparing custom proposals. By creating a library of pre-built modules, they cut proposal time by 60%, and project margins soared. Technology can help you here. Automated expense tracking and reporting can spot cost creep before it eats into your margins. Now let's talk about the third strategy. Not every sale is created equal. Some products and services will naturally have better margins, and the smartest businesses double down on those. An e-commerce store analyzed its sales and found 20% of products generated 60% of total gross profit. They started promoting those winners more heavily and using low-margin items as loss leaders to bring customers in. Same with services. A web agency noticed their maintenance contracts had higher margins than one-off projects. They made those contracts a bigger part of their offer, and soon 40% of revenue was recurring, high-margin work. Gross margin isn't set it and forget it. Track it monthly, by product line, by customer segment, by season. If something's dropping, figure out why fast. The fix could be as simple as a supplier renegotiation or as big as rethinking your pricing model. Seasonal businesses, in particular, should check margins in their peak and slow months. A landscaping business, for example, might accept lower margins in winter, but they'd better make up for it in summer. Okay, let's bring it home. Healthy margins give you options to invest in growth without taking on debt, to survive downturns, to reward your team. So here's your action plan. Number 1, calculate your margin accurately. Include all relevant costs. Then pick one improvement strategy: pricing, cost reduction, or mix optimization. 3, test it in a focused way and then track results and adjust. Even a 3% improvement on Wondermatters in revenue is an extra $30,000 in your pocket. That's money you can use to grow, strengthen cash flow, and build a business that thrives no matter the market. If this was helpful, hit like, subscribe, and tell us what finance topics you want us to break down next here on the Cash Flow Desk.